Welcome back, Pokemon fans. We are getting ready for our next and final matchup of the day here on the stream. We have the Arizona Arcanines and the Azalea Aeroblast coming up here and battling for us today to round out our Sunday matchups here before we all take a well-earned break. Enthusiasts, coaches, trainers, and Pokemon alike will be able to rest easy after this one. But we got one more match in store, so that time is not yet. For the Azalea Aeroblast, we have our coach Snoozy, who has Scizor, or Scizor, however you like to pronounce it, Mega Camerupt, Torkoal, Mega Chandelure, Primarina, Dino, Chestnut, Liepard, Jolteon, and Arbok. We may see a strong Sun team from this Azalea Aeroblast here. And with that Scizor, little known fact is that it can in fact run Tailwind, so we could see some nice speed control on the field here. But I don't think we have a Trick Room setter for the Azalea Aeroblast. So we will see some interesting sets here today for this Azalea Aeroblast squad. We did get prepped ahead of time by Snoozy saying that they provided a lot of techs for their team here. So this could be a really exciting matchup here as we head into this final round. On the other side of the field, the Arizona Arcanines are running Farigiraf, Mega Floette, Conkeldurr, Altaria, who we just saw putting quite a bit of damage for that Mega Gengar team with Parasong, Tailwind, and Dragon Shear. Then we have Empoleon, Hydrapple, Zoroark, Mega Emboar, Garganacl, and Garbodor. This is also another very interesting team where they do have a Trick Room setter, but they also have a Tailwind setter. And it looks like there was an issue where the rules were not correctly chosen, and we accidentally went into a singles match first. So we are just resetting and getting put into a room where it is a doubles match here, as this is what our tournament is about, doubles. So we'll be getting a new code here in a second to get this guy going here. But while we're waiting, again, we are looking at quite an interesting team on both sides. There is no clear-cut victory on either side here, as technically both teams can play inside and outside of Trick Room. With that Scizor, with that Mega Camera, with that Torkoal, they are well adjusted to playing inside Trick Room if Farigiraf decides to click that button. But you also have to worry about Mega Chandelure here, who with that base speed of 90 can be quite potent in either form depending on the sets for each Pokemon. We have our new code. We will be getting it streamed just here in a second as we join this room. The Arizona Arcanines are in a bit of a struggle against this potent fire attack, as it looks like that might be a heavy focus here. Now you may see on the screen right here now that we are looking at the singles battle. However, that is not where we're at right now. We will be inside a new room here momentarily that has been set up, and it will have the proper set going for it. We are just waiting for the two trainers here to get set up inside this battle, and we will get rocking and rolling on our game one of this final match of the day. All right, and Snoozy, the coach of the Azalea Aeroblast, has decided to bring Chandelure, Jolteon, Scizor, Chestnut, Arbok, and Primarina to this battle, with Taco in a bar fight on the other side for the Arizona Arcanines, bringing Empoleon, Zoroark, Altaria, Farigiraf, Mega Emboar, and Hydrapple to this battle. We have what looks to be Trick Room versus possibly Tailwind or just no speed control. This will definitely be quite the interesting battle here as we look to see what these two players have cooked up to counter their opposing enemies' teams. And as we enter this game one, we will now see what our Pokemon trainers here are going to lead with. The Arizona Arcanines have led with Farigiraf and Altaria, a bit of speed control on either side depending on the way they want to go here. But we have Chestnut and Mega Chandelure on the battle side of the Azalea Aeroblast. Chestnut here looking kind of interesting here, not immediately threatening to either Pokemon, but you don't know what set this is running, so it could be quite dangerous here. We see a Mega Evolution right out the gate with that Mega Chandelure, possibly putting some immediate offensive pressure down on the opposing team, with Farig here looking to be immune to those Shadow Balls, but a Shadow Ball, but a Heat Wave comes out, dealing over half to Farigiraf, and just under a quarter damage to that Altaria. The Tailwind does go up, giving speed control to the Arizona Arcanines, and Psychic putting Chestnut in the blender as it one-shots him, and he goes down immediately. That is a big turn one knockout from the Farigiraf into that Chestnut spot. Let's see what our pilot brings back out here. It is Arbok, who is now in the fold, but immediately threatened by that Farigiraf Psychic here, as we saw that it did outspeed that Chestnut under Tailwind, so we don't know the speed investment here for the Arizona Arcanine on this Farigiraf. We do see the Psychic come out onto the Arbok there. It does not knock it out there. It does live that Psychic. A Heat Wave comes out that will assuredly knock out that Farigiraf, and Altaria now goes down to about a third of its health left, and it gets burned. What Pokemon will the Arizona Arcanines bring in next here? We have quite the matchup going so far, with it being pretty even keel on both sides here. Now, the Tailwind is up for the Arizona Arcanines, and that is putting pressure on this Azalea Aeroblast squad with Arbok and Mega Chandelure here on the field. Hydrapple does come out here. It is normally a Trick Room Pokemon, but it may be putting some good pressure down with the potential speed investment here under Tailwind. That Fickle Beam could do quite a bit of damage to Chandelure or Arbok here, depending on how the Arizona Arcanine want to play this churn. Primarina does come in, revealing the final Pokemon for the Azalea Aeroblast and Snoozy, and what they decided to bring here. That Earth Power coming in, doing big damage to that Chandelure, but Chandelure tanks it quite well there. A Heat Wave coming out, putting good damage on the Hydrapple, but not bringing it down to half. But another burn as Heat Wave really putting in quite a lot of work right now. Altaria finally does go under half health, with Hydrapple getting a little bit over half health still at about 60-ish, 55%. The Primarina is on the field, and it can put some good pressure down with a potential fairy move here on either Pokemon. Hyper Voice not very good against the Grass Dragon and the Dragon Altaria here on the field. Our trainers here deliberating carefully on what their next play is, trying to preserve their Pokemon in the best way possible, with, I believe, what is one more turn of Tail Room on the field. The Chandelure does click Protect here, giving itself another turn while Altaria keeps itself bulky and alive with that Roost. And the Giga Drain going into Primarina, dealing well over half damage, as now Hydrapple will heal almost all of its health back here, getting up to about 80%, and Primarina going for the Substitute, just barely able to get that, as the Giga Drain put it in a blender, almost one-shotting it there. Leftovers does activate on Primarina, bringing it back up into the yellow. And Tail Room, I do believe, is going to end here. And I do believe on turn 1, we saw that Chandelure outsped Altaria. So at least Chandelure will get one turn of damage in here before a potential knockout from this Hydrapple and Earth Power. We do see that Shadow Ball go onto the Altaria, a critical hit, still not enough to put Altaria down, but we do get the special defense drop, and the Tailwind goes up. Let's see what Primarina gets going on here. A Moonblast into that Protect. Chandelure does get to live for another turn here, but will we see a double up into that Primarina spot that can break the Substitute before it can make an attack here? The Golden Caramel Apple is doing quite a bit of damage here to both Chandelier and Primarina, with a moveset that really is putting fits onto the Azalea Aeroblast squad here. Another Altaria Roost here, bringing it back up to over half health. Now that Giga Drain did go into that Primarina spot, but not enough to knock it here, as it just gets a little bit of health back. The Substitute will fade, and Primarina does go for a Moonblast into that Hydrapple spot here. And Hydrapple does go down. That is big damage from that Primarina. With Altaria getting a little bit of leftovers health back, but that is nullified by that chip damage from the burn each turn. So without Roost, it doesn't gain any health, doesn't lose any health technically because of the leftovers. Now, the Mega Pokemon for these Arizona Arcanines does come out in Mega Emboar, and he is ready to rock and roll and start rumbling here. And with 2 turns left of Tailwind left, this Emboar and this Altaria have a great chance to really put this game 1 on ice here. Primarina does come back, sacrificing a turn to get put in Arbok and possibly take a hit so it can live outside of the Tailwind. Emboar, Mega Evolving here into the man with the staff and the big eyebrows, as he will now, Altaria pops off a Dragon Pulse, bringing the Chandelure just under 20% health here. The close combat coming out for that Arbok, taking it out, but the Chandelure lives another turn and will now get off a hit. Can it do any meaningful damage to this Altaria or this Emboar? It does go for the Emboar, who has a -1 in special defense here from that close combat. And now both Altaria and the Pig are a -1 special defense from a Shadow Ball drop earlier and this close combat hit with just 1 turn left of Tailwind. This game is not over by any stretch. Altaria has been putting in great work in every single game that we've seen it so far here, and that is not an exception today, with the Pig standing next to her. We see a double protect from the Azalea Aeroblast here, burning out that last turn of Tailwind. No Roost this time from Altaria, just in case. And the Emboar going for that close combat, trying to do big damage on that Primarina and get it out of the way. The Tailwind does peter out, and again, as we saw earlier, that Chandelure has great chances to outspeed everything here on the field. It definitely outspeeds that Altaria. Now, we could see a Protect from this Emboar to help it stay alive while this Tailwind goes live, as we know that a Shadow Ball might not keep, or might not knock out this Altaria, who is incredibly bulky. A Shadow Ball does come out, and Altaria does live. One more Shadow Ball as it gets up another Tailwind here. Hyper Voice does come out. However, will this Altaria go down? It lives. It lives on 12 health here as it puts up Tailwind and provides another turn of support for this Emboar. The main question here now is, what will the Azalea Aeroblast do? The Altaria doesn't seem to have much to do against this Primarina, but it will not survive another Hyper Voice, and the Emboar is -1 off of neutral damage from a boosted Hyper Voice with that Primarina ability. This is such a close game. It really can go either way. Right now, I'm liking the odds for the Azalea Aeroblast here if they can keep Primarina alive long enough to do some great damage to Emboar and Altaria here. Altaria reading the Protect again, clicks Roost. That close combat comes out. It does not do enough to the Prim. The Prim should be popping off a mighty Hyper Voice now and putting itself into a great position to make this a 2v1. The Altaria down to 67 health here, and a 2v1 versus the Chandelure and this Primarina. Can this Altaria do any damage to this Primarina is the question. It can live with Roost and try to keep itself alive. However, we've only seen its one attacking move so far be Dragon Pulse. I do not believe it's revealed its fourth move yet. The Dragon Pulse does come out. The Chandelure lives on 2 HP. Big survival by that Chandelure, ending this game 1 in favor of the Azalea Aeroblast. And they take game 1, making this a solid performance from both trainers here as we look into a game 2. The Azalea Aeroblast with a massive victory in game 1 there, putting Altaria on the block again and again and again, keeping itself alive, but not able to gain any ground with that burn, preventing the leftovers from doing what it wants to do. And Emboar just not being able to do enough damage to that Prim with the close combat. Getting that -2 in special defense was just too much for it to ask. Our trainers are now preparing for game 2 of this matchup. The Azalea Aeroblast have the Arcanines from Arizona on the ropes here into game 2. Let's see what switch up happens here as we look to get a new outlook on this matchup and see what kind of changes can be made. This has been an exciting match here to round us out for the day. Game 1 went down to the wire, with even Tailwind not being able to stop Mega Chandelure, as he has put in quite a bit of work today for multiple coaches, as well as making it so that Altaria just could not survive the damage being put down by the Aeroblast squad there, with those Shadow Balls getting a -1 special defense and just putting constant pressure to recover and not be able to just provide the support that it truly wanted to do. We are now headed into game 2 here, folks. We have Snoozy and Taco getting into the next round here. The lead for the Arizona Arcanines is Altaria and that Mega Emboar that we saw round out their game 2, while the Azalea Aeroblast lead with Mega Chandelure game, but this time they've got Jolteon up in the pilot seat here, ready to disrupt Altaria with some extra speed and possibly electric shenanigans here. Chandelure showing just how strong he is. However, this Altaria for Taco has done quite a bit of self-preservation here, as it is incredibly bulky, living those 175 special attack, base special attack moves with ease here, being the absolute definition of a unit and a tank. We have a turn 1 Mega Evolution, Fake Tears from that Jolteon into the Emboar, giving it a -2 already. Dark Pulse from the Emboar coming out, doing absolutely big damage on the Chandelure. The Chandelure should be moving next here with that Shadow Ball, clicking into that -2. The Emboar lives though, not able to get rid of this Emboar even with that special defense, because it is Zoroark. Zoroark doing good work here. And Tailwind goes up, meaning this Chandelure is in a dangerous position with almost 0 health left. This Zoroark was an incredibly well-placed positioned Pokemon here, absolutely fooling the entire field here, and that Fake Tears and Shadow Ball not very effective, but Dark Pulse into that spot, absolutely ruining the day for that Chandelure. Primarina coming in here to take this Dark Pulse. But what will this Jolteon do as it tries to get back some of the momentum here? Zoroark does go down the Electrode with Altaria taking neutral damage here and now -1 in speed. Now Dragon Pulse going into that Jolteon. This is not an offensive Altaria at all, but it is putting in good chip damage every single time, and that is making life very difficult for this Azalea Aeroblast squad. And we have the Hydrapple returning to the field. We saw what it did last game, putting Primarina in a terrible position here as the Tailwind is up, and it assuredly outspeeds. But this Jolteon can do quite a bit still here. Already controlling some speed here with Altaria having a -1 on that Electro Web. Let's see what this churn here shows for our two trainers here. This is a 4v3 battle now, but that Chandelure is on life support as Tailwind is up, and Snoozy does not have an easy way to bring it back in right now to get it on the field and doing solid damage, but the Volt Switch providing some needed pivoting here. But what comes in here as the 4th Pokemon for this squad? We know here now that the Arizona Arcanines did not bring Farigiraf this time, so it was possible that Scizor could have came in here and put in some extra work here, but Arbok is revealed to be the 4th Pokemon for the Azalea Aeroblast here. We have 4 highly unconventional picks here, with Primarina being the most meta of all these Pokemon here, but immediately and horribly threatened by the Giga Drain off that Hydrapple. Gunk Shot heading into that Hydrapple spot does almost 75% of its health. Absolutely putting in good work there. And the Hydrapple gets poisoned. Big, amazing play from that Gunk Shot on the Arbok. What will this Altaria do to kind of help support? Dragon Pulse into the Arbok side here will bring it down to about 30-40% health here, and a Moonblast going into this Altaria, knocking it out, meaning it cannot support its squad with tailwinds for the rest of this game here. Excellent play, survival from that Primarina, knowing that it could live whatever Hydrapple sent at it unless there was a crit, and Altaria goes down and the tailwind expires. Now that Arbok is Choice Scarf because it outsped both Hydrapple and Altaria underneath that tailwind. And Emboar, the final Pokemon, has come out here for the Arizona Arcanines, and the Arizona Arcanines and Taco are in a tough position as Snoozy still has all 4 of their Pokemon, and their Mega Evolution is still alive in the back with speed control now that the tailwind is gone. We know that it outspeeds both Emboar and Hydrapple here. We see a Protect from Primarina to start off. It does want to get a little bit extra health back. That Gunk Shot lands into that Hydrapple spot, knocking it out and making this a 4v1. An absolute dominant showing this time as we round it out a few turns later. That Flare Blitz coming in, knocking out the Arbok, giving the Emboar a little bit of chip damage, but most importantly, no close combat, meaning no reduced stats here as it tries to solo the rest of these Pokemon here. Jolteon coming back out, looking to put a good amount of pressure here on this Emboar while keeping Chandelure alive in the back. Well, it doesn't have major type advantage, and Emboar just has too much health right now for Chandelure to come in and clean things up. The Electro Ball going into that Emboar spot, doing a great chunk of damage, doing about 30% of its health. The Flare Blitz going into Primarina, almost knocking it out, but not quite there, and dealing quite a bit of chip damage to itself, bringing it down to just under half health. The Hyper Voice coming out, knocking out the Emboar, securing the victory for the Azalea Aeroblast, and making this a 2-0 sweep for Snoozy and their squad here. The Arizona Arcanines, though, that cannot be understated how well they played, and that Altaria really just put in quite a bit of work here. Especially with that Game 2 Zoroark lead that really fooled that Chandelure into thinking it was safe and sound before Altaria could get a tailwind up. And that is our match, folks. Thank you for joining us here today. That was an excellent scene from Snoozy and Taco, really putting on a great show for us here to round out the day and get us all our fix of Pokemon. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you guys have a great one.